Here we are again, coming to you electronically with a celebration of handbells and hymns, songs we learned long ago in worship from our families at home or in Sunday school. We had such a warm and gracious response to our Christmas program, which was sent to you electronically from Westminster Presbyterian Church in Wilmington, that we wanted to do it again. But this time, as you can see, we are in our own space, Newark United Methodist Church on Main Street in Newark, as we gradually step back to in-person worship. We are the First State Ringers, and we're so happy to be home. We are also very appreciative of the advances in technology, sound and amplification that have been installed in our sanctuary. When thinking of how to celebrate these glorious fortunes, we decided to record a concert full of the worship hymns, anthems, and songs that we have surely missed singing together over the past year. It was in 1738 that John Wesley set forth the beginning of what we were to become as the United Methodist Church, finding the grace that leads to the sanctification of the believer, accepting the love of God to reign in one's heart, expressing holiness both inwardly and outwardly. Wesley encouraged us to do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, in all the times you can, as long as ever you can. One way to accomplish this was through music, hymns, prayers, singing, and fellowship that led to attaining God's grade. Free in all and free for all. He lived to the age of 87, and in that time, it's generally agreed that he contributed 6,000 hymns, which he collected together for the Methodist Church to have one of the first official hymnals to use during worship services. Certainly, music is a large part of our faith. Music expresses what sometimes can't be put into words. Music is nourishment, a comforting elixir. It multiplies beauty, and music is the thoughts of the soul. Music removes pain, provides healing, erases fear and danger and sadness. In a world of peace and love, music is the universal language. It's the shorthand of emotions, and is sometimes called the speech of angels. And so, this afternoon, we come to you as safely as we can to remind you of some of these beautiful hymns and songs fashioned for you, for our church, and for our hearts. Our first hymn today is God of Grace and God of Glory. All things considered, having been originally written around 1930, it is one of the more modern hymns we will perform today. The ideas certainly reflect back to all that John Wesley has taught us, but the tune to which the words were set first appears in the Methodist hymnal around 1935. It was written by Harry Emerson Fosdick for the opening of the Riverside Church in New York City, which was a universal space commissioned by the Rockefeller family in the early 20th century. The magnificent building itself stands today to welcome all faiths, and many ceremonies, concerts, and funerals are held there. God of grace and God of glory, on thy people pour thy power. Crown thine ancient church's story, bring its bud to glorious flower. Grant us wisdom, grant us courage, for the facing of this hour. A modern tune, a modern rhythm, but age-old in treatments. This bright opening anthem is arranged for handbells by Kevin McChesney. Many hymns seem to fall into the category of almost a lullaby, having a calming or relaxing effect. I Need Thee Every Hour was written in 1872 at a small church outside of Philadelphia. A parishioner, Annie Hawks, wrote it as a poem. She was a Sunday school teacher and directed the words toward her students. She presented it to her pastor, Robert Lowry, who immediately set the beautiful lyrics to music, a simple tune he composed. The hymn is noted for bringing comfort, an ode to simplicity, recognizing Jesus as our friend and Savior. In church services, the hymn is frequently used during times of reflection, devotion, or silent prayer. It is also often used in a funeral service. Our need for his peace, our inability to resist temptation, our need to find truth in life, our need to see God's promises fulfilled. We need these every hour, and are the themes of the 4 verses of the hymn. This handbell arrangement is written by Douglas Wagner. This next piece generally falls into the category of a Negro spiritual. However, this tune has carved its well-deserved place in the pantheon of gospel and folk music. Funny, this song has many variations, depending on what the leader calls. Gonna lay down my burden, gonna lay down my sword and shield, gonna try on my long white robe, gonna try on my golden shoes, gonna try on my starry crown, gonna shake hands with the Prince of Peace, gonna shake hands around the world, gonna climb up that mountain, gonna climb the road to heaven, gonna cross the river Jordan. Of course, all these ideas reflect what is coming on that glory day, a glorious baptism by water in the river. The song also got a folk adaptation, especially during the turbulent Vietnam era of the 1960s. The lyrics were morphed into an anti-war song, I Ain't Gonna Study War No More, by artists Pete Seeger, Peter, Paul and Mary, and Willie Nelson. The origin of this hymn is unclear, as most spiritual music prior to the Civil War was not written down or recorded. The first version of the song, in a written form, was printed in 1918, when music historians sought to collect, write down, and preserve many Negro spirituals. The song was first recorded in 1920 by the Fisk University Jubilee Quartet to ensure that future generations could appreciate, read, and perform such songs. The recording was called Plantation Melodies, Modern, Popular, and Old-Time Negro Songs of the Southland. This was nearly 100 years ago. Our version of this cherished tune, Down by the Riverside, has been arranged for handbells by Arnold Sherman. It is well with my soul. What a marvelous proclamation. To think that despite times of physical and spiritual crises, God gives us the ability to find comfort and assurance within ourselves. This was the plight of Horatio Spafford in 1872, a successful financial businessman in Chicago. During the Great Chicago Fire, blocks and blocks of his offices in the downtown area were destroyed by fire. That year, for Christmas, Horatio, his wife, and 4 beautiful daughters decided to get away and sail to Paris for the holiday season. Right before the boat left New York City, Horatio got detained by business. He sent his wife and 4 girls on without him, assuring that he would join them later. The ocean liner tragically smashed head-on into another ship in the freezing North Atlantic seas, and only his wife was saved. She sent a telegram to her husband, being stranded now in Paris, that said, "Survived alone. What shall I do?" Horatio immediately left on another ocean liner to join his grieving wife, while all the while, Horatio contemplating the voyage of the boat as it somberly sailed right over the spot where his girls met their watery grave. But these words came to Horatio and offered him the only small bit of comfort this second trip afforded. "When peace, like a river, attendeth my way, when sorrow like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul." The Spaffords returned to Chicago, had 2 more children, and as a family spent the rest of their new lives building children's hospitals and doing missionary work throughout a large section of Europe and the Holy Lands. This is a beautiful song, today made even more poignant by the addition of a performer with our group, Gabriela Salvador Riera, a freshman from Cab Calloway High School, will play violin while we accompany her. Our arrangement today is written by Kathy Mokelbust. Aren't we blessed to have such a wonderful young musician in our midst? Thank you again. While most of the songs we are presenting today stemmed from American Methodism, here is one with a European pedigree. I Sing the Mighty Power of God was written by Isaac Watts. A familiar name? He also wrote O Little Town of Bethlehem. Isaac Watts is sometimes called the father of hymnody. That is the body of musical hymns used to express praise, joy, peace, gratitude, and holiness, written within the church. In 1715, Watts wrote the words as a part of a children's hymn book. We sing the mighty power of God that made the mountains rise, that spread the flowing seas abroad and built the lofty skies. It's God as seen in creation. He created all earth's beautiful wonders, and he continues his ever-present care for eons before and after us. Words reflected in the book of Genesis, creationism, amazement, and praise for such. How could we not joyfully celebrate these things with our voices? Watts wrote the words, the ideas, and set them to an existing European melody called elecome. In modern hymnals today, you will frequently see hymns listed along with the tune name used for the words. Our handbell presentation of this glorious anthem was arranged by Cynthia Dobrinsky. Our next offering is very joyful. It combines two standard hymns, woven expertly into one, Leaning on the Everlasting Arms and Standing on the Promises. It was arranged by a good friend of the First State Ringers, Mr. Michael Hellman, formerly of St. Paul's United Methodist Church in North Wilmington. Both songs were written in the period of 1886 to 87. Standing on the Promises was composed by Russell K. Carter in Chester, Pennsylvania. He is attributed with writing over 100 hymns. A professor of military sciences, he also enjoyed lots of time at the tent revivals, sing-alongs, and camp meetings that flourished in the area. Russell said that he felt compelled to sing unto the Lord, celebrating his promises achieved through faith. This hymn is loosely considered an evening song, raised up to heaven during contemplative twilight hours. Leaning on the Everlasting Arms similarly was based on the joy told in Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 27, to find refuge in the arms of God. Anthony J. Shoalwater penned over 2,000 hymns for his churches in Ohio. This is definitely a sing-along hymn, recounting, what a fellowship, what a joy divine, safe and secure from all alarms. What a blessedness, what a peace is mine, leaning on the everlasting arms. This rousing anthem became a rallying hymn for churches and soldiers around World War I, celebrating what it means to find refuge in our Heavenly Father's arms, allowing peace and joy to replace loneliness and anxiety in time of fear and trial. Note how the arranger weaves the two songs together, creating a life raft for us to boldly cling to in our troubled hearts. Still, two joyful anthems written nearly 135 years ago. The cross is one of the most recognized symbols in Christian churches. When we look at the cross, we immediately associated it with one of the darkest events in our faith and one of the most magnificent. In 1912, George Bernard of Michigan was a prominent hymn composer, penning over 300 hymns. Upon reflecting on the cross, he felt deeply moved by the symbolism and the meaning of it. He claims the words to the melody were delivered directly from God above. The Old Rugged Cross is clearly one of the most popular and oft-performed songs in our hymnal. The words speak to the hardships and difficulties bravely borne in life, which may one day be exchanged for sanctuary in heaven. The hymn is commonly used in worship and for funerals. In over 100 years now, the Old Rugged Cross has become a staple in worship services, camp meetings, hymn sings, tent revivals, and themes for evangelists. It was a theme song for traveling evangelists Billy Sunday and Billy Graham. It's a battle anthem for the Salvation Army and has been recorded by hundreds of country and gospel performers. We know that you probably know this tune yourself, and hopefully you can join along with us as we perform it. We're used to people humming along as we play a familiar tune, but for now we'll have to trust that you are moved to joining in through modern technology. Modern technology that in no way diminishes the deep sentimentality of this song. This arrangement is by Cynthia Dubrinsky. Bound for the Promised Land. Christians dedicated to the journey of life over the hills and valleys of daily living, keeping our eyes and our hearts on reaching the glorious destination of our journey. This is undoubtedly what Samuel Stennett was contemplating in 1787 when he wrote this hymn. Visions of the believer as he or she approaches the end of their journey. Stannett incorporated some ideas from the book of Revelations, chapter 22, a vision of heaven as a glorious place, a glimpse to keep our spirits high, no more mourning, crying, or pain, darkness or night no longer, and no lamp needed, as all the light that was necessary will come from God himself. The song was originally written in a minor key and published in a hymn book called Southern Harmonies in 1835. It was rewritten for Johnny Cash in a major key. It was popular as a camp song, tent revivals, and a sing-along. You may notice us doing some unexpected movements with the bells. These are techniques to get many different sounds out of the bells. We ring them, swing them, thump them on the table, strike them with our mallets, flail them, and in the case of this song, we rub the rims with our singing sticks. We also feature the hand chimes. All of these techniques are the ideas of the arranger for this song, Derek Hakes. This next hymn is attributed to a very prolific Methodist hymnist, Fannie Crosby, around 1860. It's estimated that Fannie, who was blind from birth, wrote as many as 3,300 hymns, songs, poems, etc., for her church and Sunday school. Perhaps you've never heard of her. That's because she published her works under as many as 50 pseudonyms, pen names. In the late 1800s, she was worried that hymns and songs written by a woman might not be taken seriously, so some of the names she used were male names. We have come a long way, Fannie. Two of her other more popular hymns you might know are To God Be the Glory and Sweet Hour of Prayer. Being blind was a struggle for Fannie. One account says she went to the home of a friend, Phoebe Palmer Knapp, who played a simple melody on her piano. When finished, Phoebe asked Fannie, "What does this song sound like to you?" Fannie answered, "It sounds like a blessed assurance," and thus her hymn was born. Fannie claims that Jesus funneled the rest of the words through her to reflect comfort, especially in times of trial and struggle. Just think of it. Around 3,300 hymns may be attributed to Fannie, some perhaps written under false names, that we still are not sure were written by Fannie herself. Our handbell arrangement of Blessed Assurance is by Jason Krug. We certainly thank you for joining us this afternoon. We hope we were able to remind you of some of the songs that make worship time meaningful and that the tunes follow you throughout the rest of the week. We would also like to thank Pastor Mary Catherine and the leadership and members of NUMC for allowing us to continue to rehearse, congregate, and record this concert for you. We all feel that we are getting closer and closer to the end of this pandemic event in our lives, and as such, we end our performance with a burst of happiness, truly felt from our hearts. Joyful, Joyful, which was written in 1824 by the master Ludwig van Beethoven. This chorus, the finale to his 9th and final symphony, is considered one of the most performed and well-known choral anthems of all times. It has been associated with some of the most monumental and important events in the past 200 years. Perhaps your own wedding, graduation, or a family evening watching Sister Act 2 on Disney+. Freude in the original German means a spark or a burst of joy, an injection of divinity. Don't ever forget the joy, or let everyday toils block the joy. Joy and love for all mankind, all of life, creation, and all that God is. Joyful, joyful, we adore thee, God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts unfold like flowers before thee, opening to the sun above. This joyful arrangement is by Cynthia Dobrinsky. Thank you. And finally, a wish for you, Freude, joy, as we return to in-person worship, singing together, and a spectacular handbell Christmas concert live and together in December of 2021. Keep your fingers crossed. And now for the blessing. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face, the rains fall soft upon your fields, and until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Thank you so much for joining us.